You've got a problem, and it's a big problem, and it's a problem that's not going to get any better for you by you doing the same things you've been doing for most of your adult life. If you live in the Western world, so that would be the United States, Canada, Europe, or Australia, and maybe you could throw New Zealand in there maybe, you are living in a slowly collapsing civilization, right? Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that any of these countries have gotten much better in the past 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. No, these countries have all gotten slowly worse over time, and they will continue to get worse over time because the window at which you could have saved these countries politically is well past us. You'd have to time warp back to the 1990s somehow and make some changes back then, and maybe you could have saved these countries. But at this point now, these countries are more authoritarian, they are higher taxed, they have more civil unrest, crime rates are going up, civil unrest in most of these cities are going up, people are angry, people aren't happy anymore, right? That's how this is. And what you could do, I suppose, is keep doing what most of you have been doing, and that is voting for politicians that go in and do the exact opposite of what they promise they will do, or at a bare minimum, don't do what they promise to do. And this is not a left-right, Democrat, Republican thing. And as always, use those terminologies that match your country if you're not an American. But Americans, the country that I'm from, I don't live in America anymore, but the country that I'm from, they've done that 5 times so far over the past 30 years, right? Joe Biden, Trump, Obama, Bush, and Bill Clinton. 5 presidents in a row where people voted for them because they said they would do certain things and they proceeded to do the exact opposite, or at a bare minimum not do any of those things. Now, if you want to keep doing that as your country continues to get worse and worse and worse, and as taxes get higher and higher, and as inflation gets higher and higher and higher, and it's harder to support your family and your basic needs, and as people get more and more angry and you have more and more protests and riots in your cities, and as authoritarianism rises and more laws rise and more restrictions cover your life, if you want to keep doing that, that's great. I'm an individualist. Do whatever you want. But I have a much better plan for you, something that thousands of people have already done, that we've helped people do, and it's a lot better. And that is to internationalize your lifestyle, or at least have a plan B so that you can either move to another country that is much better, or at least have the option of quickly going somewhere else as a backup plan if, I say if, when your collapsing authoritarian, high tax, angry country gets worse and worse and worse. That's what we show you how to do here at Sovereign CEO. So how do you do that? How do you actually do this? That sounds very complicated. It actually is not complicated at all. It's very simple. It's really just 2 steps. First step is that you have to somehow make sure that you can pay your bills anywhere in the world you want. You want to get to the point where your income is not tethered to a specific location, a specific city or country or region. You want to make your income location independent. That's what I've got. I have location independent income. I own several small companies. I have about 17 income streams, and none of these things are tethered to any city, any region, or any country. So I can literally go anywhere in the world I want, whenever I feel like it, stay there for as long as I want, and the money just keeps coming in. I am not stuck or tethered to any location to pay my bills and to maintain my lifestyle. It's kind of nice. So there are 2 steps here in order to make sure that you're covered. And the first step is to develop that income. Self-employed, location-independent income. Self-employed, location-independent income, that's a small business or a big business if you want it, where you have a business that generates income regardless of where you are in the world. It has nothing to do with where you physically are. Now, this is self-employed income, because you might tell me, well, hey man, I have a job and it's location dependent. I'm a remote worker because of COVID. And so, hey, I'm covered, right? Wrong. If you piss off one person, you will lose that job, right? If there's a problem with the economy and that business doesn't make a lot of money anymore, that job is gone and now you're in big trouble. Or if there's a change in that company's industry, which happens all the time lately, and that company can't support your position anymore, now you're in trouble. Or if there's a change in the laws, and now that company can't make the money that it used to make or the way it used to make it, and now guess what? You don't have a job anymore and now you're in big trouble. You need, if you want long-term happiness and long-term stability in your life, you need to be able to control your income. When you have a job that's, even if it's a location-dependent job, you don't control it. Who controls it? Your boss does, your company does, your industry, not you. If I had a job, even if I was location-dependent, if I had a job right now, I would be so nervous. There's no way I'd be able to sleep at night because I know at any point I could lose that job through no fault of my own. Whereas when you are self-employed, when you have your own business, no one can fire you. No one can fire me. Nobody can fire me. I could lose some customers, maybe, but no one can fire me. No one can take my income away. It's mine. If there's a change in the economy or the industries I'm in or the laws, I can very quickly pivot and generate money in some other way. I don't have that option when I have a job. I have to take my little stupid resume and beg some guy to hire me again. Not doing that, especially if I don't even live in the country. So we're talking about self-employed location independent income. So that means you need to have your own small business. So what we teach here at Sovereign CEO is a very specific business structure called Alpha 2.0. It's not just any business, it's an Alpha 2.0 business. And that means a few things. Number one, it's 100% location independent. We already covered that. Number two, that business, you get it to the point where it generates at least $7,000. That's USD if you're outside the United States, so feel free to convert, per month. Now that is after expenses but before taxes. So that's pre-tax net income. So that's after your business expenses, you take that income in, you haven't paid taxes yet, $7,000. Now why $7,000 a month? Why that very specific weird figure? Because $7,000 a month equates to roughly $85,000 a year. They have done numerous happiness studies throughout the years, and they have found that people who make $85,000 a year US, that is US dollars pre-tax, so again, convert if you're not an American, that's fine. People who make $85,000 a year tend to be the happiest people. So if you make less than $85,000 a year, if you made some more money, you probably would be happier. You probably would. Now, if you already make $85,000 a year and you make more than 85, you might be happier, you might not, depends on your personality, depends on various factors. I make many multiples of $85,000 a year, so I'm one of those guys who needs to make more than that. But as a bare minimum in terms of your income, long-term in your life, you want to make at least $85,000 a year for maximum long-term happiness. And this is empirical, this is not my opinion. There's a lot of scientific data that backs this up. That's the first aspect. The second aspect is that this income can be maintained on less than 30 hours per week. Sorry, I'm drawing sideways. That's how I draw. 30 hours a week. So that means you're making $7,000 per month, and you can maintain that income on 30 hours a week or less. If you make good money and you have to work 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week for the rest of your life to maintain that income, you are not free. That sucks. I personally know many guys whom have very high incomes, but they have to work 60, 70 hours a week. And in most cases, they're not location dependent. They're stuck and dependent on whatever country they happen to be living in. Not a good idea when you live in the collapsing Western world. So the objective here is not only to be location dependent, but have a decent amount of money to maintain your lifestyle and take care of your family, and to make sure you're not blowing your brains out with work. Now, initially, when you start your business, you'll probably be working more than 30 hours a week total, especially if you have a job and you do this on the side, which you can. That's okay. We're talking about once everything is all set up. I'm not saying you start a business and you immediately make $7,000 a month. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. I'm talking about once you have these business structures in place, you're making a location-dependent income of $7,000 a month or so or more, and you're working less than 30 hours a week to maintain that income. Kind of nice. Now, once you have this in place, you now have something that the vast majority of human beings don't have. You have mobility. You can go anywhere you want, anywhere in the world for as long as you want, and the money keeps coming in. You have to worry about paying your bills. If there's a problem where you live, you can just walk onto an airplane, fly to somewhere else, and you're okay. You're good to go, especially if you set up your plan B, which we'll talk about next. But if you don't have location independent income, how are you possibly going to internationalize your life? How are you possibly going to move out of the country? How can you possibly have a plan B if you leave the country, now you have no income, right? That's why this is step one. You got to develop this first. Even if you have never started a business in your entire life, we have shown thousands of people how to set up their own location independent companies selling products, information, or services. It's not as difficult as you think. We will show you how. So that's the first step. So the second step, once you have this in place, is that you can now internationalize your lifestyle as much as makes sense for you. And everyone's different. Everyone is a different age. Everyone's in a different place in life. Everyone has different desires and opinions and things like that. So we're going to now take step two, which is to internationalize your life as much as makes sense for you. So there are 3 levels to this. There are 3 different ways in which you can do this. Not everyone is the same. If you're a 27-year-old guy and you're single and have no kids, you have very different priorities than if you're a 57-year-old guy and you're married, you have 2 kids or what have you. So not everyone is the same. So we have developed 3 different levels, and we help you with all 3, depends on what level you want, to internationalize your life based on how old you are, where you live, what you want, what your plans are, and where you are in life. Okay? So any one of these levels will work for you. So the first level, let's call this level A, that is the simplest level, and that is Plan B. No, not the Plan B pill, although some of you might need that too. Plan B. Plan B means you have another country. Plan B means you don't leave your current collapsing authoritarian high-tax Western country. You stay there for whatever reasons you have, because I realize some of you have valid reasons. Some people say, hey, I have small kids, or hey, I have elderly parents I got to take care of. Fine. Whatever reasons you have, you stay in your current collapsing country. You just kind of put up with it. But you have developed a fully developed Plan B. That means there is another country that you really like, where you have legal residency in that country. You have a residency card, so when you go there, you're not a tourist. They have to let you in no matter what, even if there's a pandemic or war or some kind of problem. You're a legal resident in that country, a legal permanent resident, and maybe you have a bank account there, you have some money there, you've set up some contacts there, maybe even you have a small apartment there. But if you don't have an apartment or home, you know how to get one very quickly. And so this means that whenever there's a major problem in your current country, when there will be a major problem in your current country, there already is, you can quickly grab your backpack or whatever you need, hop on a plane, and go to your second home, your Plan B, and now you're covered. Kind of nice, right? That's what Plan B is. The vast majority of human beings do not have this. The vast majority of human beings, if and when something horrible happens to their countries, they're basically screwed. They don't have location-dependent income, and they don't have a Plan B. They just have to go down the ship with everyone else. Not smart. Now, that's the first level. The second level is you actually move. You actually move out of your current collapsing authoritarian high-tax angry Western country and you go to another country that is less bad. Now, does that mean you move to a country that is perfect? No. Every country in the world kind of sucks right now. There's about 194 countries in the world. They all have problems. But some have much less problems than others. Some suck a lot less than others. So I'm not saying you move to another country that is perfect in every way. I'm saying you move to a country that is much less bad than the United States, Canada, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, etc. That is much less bad. A country where tax rates are much lower. A country where the economy isn't slowly collapsing. A country where people aren't screaming and yelling at each other's throats about politics. A country where people are happy and nice. Kind of a novel idea, isn't it? And so you can do this, and even if you have no idea where to move, we can show you exactly how to figure out the best country for you based on your personality, where you are in life, your age, your family situation, and so on. This is when you actually move. Now, you don't need to do this. I think you should. I did. But you don't need to. You can just do Plan B if you want, and that's fine. That's why there's levels to this. So the final level is level C, and this is something called 5 flags. 5 flags is internationalizing your life on steroids. 5 flags is something that I have done. That is where you break out your entire life and you spread it out over 5 or more countries. You have your business entities in one country, you have your investments in another country, you have residency in a third country, you have passports in a fourth country, and so on. It gets a little complicated. It's not for everybody, but some of you will really like this because 5 flags is a way where you can legally pay the absolute minimum amount of tax you can possibly pay. You have the max amount of freedom in your life in terms of world mobility because you have multiple passports, multiple residencies. At this moment right now, I have legal permanent residency in 5 different countries. Talk about Plan B. I have Plan B, Plan C, Plan B. I got all kinds of plans. Great. Now, I'm a maniac with this stuff. I'm not recommending you do this. 5 flags doesn't make sense for a lot of people, but it does make sense for some people, especially if you're already self-employed or you have investments or you're really concerned about travel mobility and things like this, especially in an era of the collapsing Western world and things like COVID-19. And that's it. Once you have location-independent income and once you've selected one of these 3 options, you are now protected against the authoritarianism that is rising in your current country, the taxes that are rising, the inflation that is rising, the civil unrest and political anger that is rising in your countries, the possible wars that may or may not be coming to some of your Western countries. You are protected against all that stuff, and you live a happy life because you're making decent money, and you're location independent, and you have full mobility. You can go wherever you want, even if there's a problem with where you move to. It's kind of nice. This is what I have done, and I am one of the happiest people I know. I'm one of the safest people I know. I'm one of the freest people I know because I've adopted this model. That's what we do here at Sovereign CEO. We teach you how to do all of these things. We have taught thousands of people how to do these things. We're going to teach thousands more. And if you have any interest in these topics or these techniques, you should subscribe to this YouTube channel because we have lots of videos here on how to do exactly this. Plus, you can go to sovereignceo.com. That is our primary website where we have all the materials and information. We are here to help you set up location independent income, which is kind of nice because then you can make money no matter where you are in the world, and it's your money you control, and to set up either a plan B, a new country, or 5 flags for you. I hope this information has helped. I will see you very soon. Have fun. Bye.